everyone. I'm Laura Chandler, the host of the Sacred Stream Radio podcast, and we are celebrating our 100th episode. And we are also simultaneously this entire year celebrating the 20th anniversary of the foundation of the Sacred Stream, home of the Sacred Stream Radio podcast. And so today I thought for the 100th anniversary, we would invite Dr. Isa Gucciardi here, the founding director of the Foundation of the Sacred Stream. And lest you forget, or you might not know, I'm the executive director of the Sacred Stream. And I thought we would talk about the podcast, the Sacred Stream, what it means to make it 20 years, and what are we going to be doing for the next 20 years? So welcome, Isa.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations on your 100th podcast episode. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a really big deal.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
I remember when you were first talking about it, I was, thinking, ooh, all the different places you could go with that, all the different people you can see. And I thought that it was really sort of the manifestation of that vision that we had in the beginning, where we really wanted to offer a platform and a place for people with different ideas, different paths to consciousness, different ways of understanding art, that were all informed by the sacred, and or the not necessarily sacred in the traditional sense, but with the awareness and consciousness of the beauty of the world and the mystery that we're experiencing, right?
Well, when I think I had even thought of had wanted to do something that was podcast-like before there were podcasts. And it was really interviewing. It was a whole other theme and a whole other kind of genre. But it's been in my awareness for a really long time. And when I decided to do the podcast, it's taken a few forms. At first it was very informative, and I want it to still be very informative of the work that we do at the Sacred Stream, which we'll talk a little bit about today. But what I realized was that in my capacity, both as a professional musician, an artist, and also a teacher and student of consciousness, someone dedicated to hopefully helping make the planet a better place, that in the course of my work with the foundation and in my career as a musician, that I have encountered so many interesting people, and some of them are really well known. Some of them are not known not in the public eye at all, but whose stories are inspiring, and whose dedication to, kindness and, helping others, and doing good in the world in whatever way that they can. We don't want to define what that is. They have something to share, and it can be inspiring to other people who are out there doing the same thing. So that's why I do the podcast. It is something that requires a lot of time and resources, and I couldn't do it without the help of a lot of people. And I'll just give a brief shout out.
Yeah,
That's okay. I want to thank Cody Humston, Sherry Serino, Clementine Moss, and Katie Healy for all the help with production and everything that they do. And I also want to thank everyone who listens to the podcast or watches it on the YouTube channel. Those of you who reach out and, tell me what episode you liked, or, what excited you about something in the episodes, that keeps me going with it. That inspires me to continue doing it. And I'm going to take a moment to invite you right now to like the podcast. Like, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to it on a platform. When you do that, it actually gets it in front of other people who maybe listen to similar things but don't know who we are and who would really enjoy it and get something out of it. So we appease the algorithm gods by liking, subscribing, and actually leaving a comment. If you leave a review on the audio version, or if you comment below here, if you're watching it on YouTube, that also speaks to the algorithm gods. I don't know their language fully, but I speak little. So that helps us a lot. If you just take like a short moment to do that, I really appreciate it. And certainly, we can use your support and funding. So if you feel like making a donation to the podcast, it really helps. You can make that through the Foundation of the Sacred Stream, or if you're on YouTube, there may be a way to do that, but you just go to the donate page on sacredstream.org. So that's my pitch. This is my baby. And so, you know, I want to keep it going, and I want to keep bringing you guys the things that you like, the content that you like, the artists and thought leaders that you like. And so just give me some feedback. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me who you'd like to see on the podcast. I'd love to hear from you. I sometimes feel like I'm in a little bit of a void, but today I don't, because Issa's here, right here in the flesh, sitting next to me. It's not a box on the screen. And Issa, 20 years ago, we had this idea to create this foundation, a home for consciousness. And do you want to talk a little bit about what inspired you? What were we thinking?
Well, I knew what I was thinking.
What were you thinking? What were you thinking?
I was feeling very, I was feeling like I was holding a lot in terms of, I had been developing depth hypnosis for several years, and I had recently realized that I had to teach it in order to be able to make sure that everyone who wanted to experience depth hypnosis could. And so I'd been teaching for a little while.
And this is a therapeutic modality that you created, which I often say is where Buddhism and shamanism meet. And it's a lot more than that, but it's a huge body of work and a really dynamic, really transformational therapeutic model that I remember when I met you, you were working 6 days a week, 9 hours a day, trying to keep up with everyone who wanted appointments. And so you were starting to train people so that you could, help more people. Yeah.
And then I was realizing that I had to do more than just teach depth hypnosis. I was going to have to teach the basics of shamanic practice, the basics of Buddhist practice, so that the practitioners would have a better ground. And then, just about the time where one of my students got me up against the wall and said, "There's something you're doing that you're not telling us about." And I realized that was energy medicine. Just about that time, I thought, we can't keep calling this just depth hypnosis, right? I mean, there's just so much that is, it's all depth hypnosis, but it's also much bigger than depth hypnosis. And I just really felt like we needed to have a container to hold it all. And because I felt myself to kind of be just brimming over with all of this material that was dialing in during client sessions and dreams. And so I thought, okay, let's make an organization, and it should be a nonprofit, because our values run along the nonprofit side of things, where we're really, creating a system where we are generating income, generating abundance, and then sharing it, not sort of paying stockholders, So, which I guess is a form of sharing it, but it was
a different form.
But it was sort of more along my political leanings also, just, more egalitarian. So I remember looking at the incorporation papers and just like, ooh, okay, you're going to read. Okay, we got to find some people to sign this. Okay, we're going to sign this, and filing it. And, at the time, and I think it's still true, it wasn't a given that you would be receiving nonprofit status just because you asked for it.
That's right.
And so we had about 8 weeks where maybe 10 weeks where we weren't sure it was going to happen. And then I remember getting the incorporation papers. And I was like, yes, you know, so that was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
Yeah.
And we were small, and we were, we were starry-eyed, and,
We really had no idea what we were doing. Yeah. Well, I had an idea.
We had an idea what we were doing in terms of like what our intention was, but what it would become, again, we had an intention, but when we started, what we realized is that what we're doing in the world, in depth hypnosis, again, I often refer to it as a path of consciousness. And, you're on a path of consciousness when you're doing your own healing, when you're looking and trying to understand the things in you that are hidden, that you don't understand. And so that we are one of many that, are on the planet trying to encourage consciousness within ourselves and within others. And so when we created the foundation, it was to also hold space for others to come and teach from their specific lineages, spiritual traditions, including artists. And we always have held that understanding that there's this something too spiritual in the artistic tradition. And so we've always had musicians and writers and photographers and painters part of the foundation, to the extent that we can. And so it's a dynamic and diverse organization, but the seed was quite small, and we had many incarnations in a way, and we finally in 2009 we've been looking for a home, we've been teaching out of the house, we've been renting places, and we finally
open circles in some crazy places.
Yeah. Those are some
remember
stories.
Oh, I could tell you some
I
stories.
don't know.
Okay.
There are a lot of stories, but what we realized is we really need our own space, because the way that spaces, you walk into a space and there's some crazy energy in those spaces. They're not maintained very well, and so I
wound up doing a community service every time I taught a class somewhere, because I had to clear the whole building.
That's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2009, we found our home, which is the Sacred Stream Center in Berkeley. And that is an old Lutheran church that has a very deep, deep spirit to it also. And so now all of our, we have this beautiful home. We have, we've hosted many amazing teachers and speakers, and we've taught many trainings there. And it's just kind of an amazing thing that we've
manifested.
That we've reached.
Or that has manifested itself with our participation.
That's right. And one of the things that we do is we create a lot of free content. Well, we have training programs and classes that do cost some money. We also do many free. We provide a lot of free content. The podcast being one of those things, but also many lectures and talks and lectures and videos that we provide, and articles, and we have a blog, and we have community events at the Sacred Stream Center, which is really lovely now that we're moving out of COVID. I don't know how far out of it we really are, but we're coming back into person. And so we have drumming circles and meditations, and hopefully we're going to reinstate our the clinics, the free clinics or low-cost clinics. So we do a lot. We do a lot for our little
engine that could.
Yeah, for a little engine.
And we've done, we've had some big projects that we've done over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, next year we're going to be celebrating the 10th anniversary of the monks tour where we did a cultural exchange for the monks of the Gaden Shartse Dokha, which is Thupten Jinpa, His Holiness the Dalai Lama's main English language interpreter. It's his house. And actually Jinpa was the first teacher that we invited. And, as soon as we kind of got our feet under us at the, even before we had the center, he was the first person I wanted to invite because I had been an admirer of his for so long. And
you're a language interpreter. You speak 6 languages, and you've run a translation company. And so Jinpa is sort of, the hero of
the translators.
He's rather otherworldly in his abilities.
Unbelievable. And so I had been an admirer of his even before I had really, totally made my commitments within Tibetan Buddhism. He had been my true mentor in terms of language. And so I invited him, and he said, well, what do you want? And I just called him up. And he just said yes. And I'm like, he said, well, what do you want me to talk about? And I said, how about language and reality? And he goes, oh, that would be good. so he did. And it was our first recorded program. And the interesting thing is, when the monks came, they told me, Khenso Rinpoche, Thupten Jinpa, who was the spiritual leader at the time of the tour, he said that Jinpa never says yes. So I'm not sure why he said yes to me, but I am really glad he said yes, because he's become a close friend and advisor of the
Sacred Stream. He's a great supporter.
And we'll be having him come very soon. Back to speak with us.
Yeah, he'll be a couple of things that brings up. I want to invite everyone to go to the Sacred Stream website, sacredstream.org. And really, it's a big website, which is both a blessing and
a blessing.
Yeah. But you got to look. And if you go to our video section, or if you go to our YouTube channel, we have those talks by Thupten Jinpa.
That first one is there.
The first one is actually on a CD that is a fundraiser for the monks of God and Chartse, so you can actually purchase that. But I may look at making that available. That should do a series of podcasts, do a podcast series releasing that, because it's a really fascinating talk. But there are a lot of talks by Jinpa and Robert Thurman and Matthew Fox and others. But go peruse those videos and those podcast episodes, and you will find a rich library of wisdom to enjoy. And Isa also brings up that Jinpa will be giving a talk on his latest book and teachings from that book, of the Majja Mudra teachings, coming up at the end of June. This is an evergreen program. So if you're watching it after June 2023, in July 2023, well, look for it on YouTube. But the other thing I wanted to say, you've mentioned this tour, and we have our own programs, but we also do other projects with other organizations. And this one that Isa's talking about is actually was quite a profound one for us, as individually, I think personally, as well as for the foundation. And this was, we took on at the request of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Office of the Dalai Lama and Thupten Jinpa, a year-long tour to help raise these funds for these monks who had actually lost their dormitory in India. So there were people, couch surfing, essentially.
Prayer halls and everything.
And so, young monks, 8 years old, 7 years old, couch surfing as they needed to raise money to build this dormitory over in India. And so we lived with 8 monks for the better part of a year, on and off. And it was a profound and beautiful experience.
A lot of greasy eggs.
A lot of greasy veggies. And but that story, there were teachings and transmissions, and there's a lot to that story, and I hope we will be able to talk more about it at some point. But I just wanted to give some context to this story, which is, it was called the Compassion Tour, and it happened in 2014, 2015, and next year, 2024, will be the 10-year anniversary, and we are having a week-long series of events. We're bringing Khenso Rinpoche, Thupten Jinpa back to do teachings
and empowerments.
And we will have Jinpa there. We will have it will be a very, very special anniversary then. So
All these anniversaries, 100 podcasts, 20 years and 10 years.
Yeah. So I'm really happy to be able to share some of what we do here at the Sacred Stream, and we can't possibly cover it all. And so go look at that big old website and send us questions and let us know what else you'd like to hear us talk about. But Isa, as we sit here on this, in the middle of this year of 20 years and having grown in the way that we've grown, what do you see for the future?
Well, I think that, we have the depth hypnosis book coming out very soon, right? I think that's going to be really fundamental in helping establish depth hypnosis as a model and helping more people know more about it. And, depth hypnosis really is a clarion call to consciousness, that meets you right exactly where you are in the midst of an addiction or in the midst of a depression, or, it's that promise toward wholeness, that you can find your way back with. And I that's really important for me to really establish the foundation and our work deeply on those inner planes so that people can find their way back home through the work. And of course, I understand that there are structures that we have to create in ordinary reality to make that happen. And I think that's actually, the thing that you have been most expert at over the years is, creating the sort of the storefront,
Well, and some of the underpinnings of the structural, physical structural.
And I think, of course, we have to continue to do that. And I think that's been for me, the biggest learning is understanding the importance of structure and the power of structure, because without it, things don't endure. And so I see us continuing to create structures that will continue to hold the work and expand the work. And I have another book that is almost ready for editing on applied shamanic counseling, applied shamanic practice. And I think that's going to be also very important in terms of establishing a legacy for the future. And I think that, for me, I'm getting toward the end of my life, and
not really.
Well, I'm getting pretty old here. And, for me, my hope is that the foundation continues and the work continues, because I know myself as a young person, when I was lost, it was hard to find help.
Yeah.
And I want to have those external structures, all these different, the books, the website is key, of course. The podcast is important. And and to have these structures that people can find their way to. Sometimes I feel, especially during the pandemic, when I was at the center, it was empty for years, and I would actually, sit in it in meditation and in the sanctuary, beautiful place, and I could really feel the pulsation of the energy of that place, and with that resonating with the pulsation of our intention to offer something of value and something of hope and promise and goodness, and to create, I could feel it creating a countercurrent to all the chaos that was happening, especially during the pandemic, and continues to happen. So for me, the future is maintaining the structures so that we have a counter force to all of the different disintegrating and degenerating forces that are all about us.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's what's important, is that we maintain there and we stay there and do whatever we have to do to continue. And I feel like all of the thousands of people that I've taught and all of the many hundreds of practitioners who are practicing are continuing the work with the people they're working with, and it's working inside of them. And that's really important. And I think, when I look at, of course, very inspired by Tibetan Buddhism. And when I look at the way in which His Holiness focused on creating schools and monasteries, that was what they were going to do when their country got taken away from them and everyone had to flee. The first thing that he did was to start setting up monasteries and those structures that call people toward consciousness. And I just want to participate there. That's what I want us to be able to do. It doesn't have to be Tibetan Buddhism only, but
no, it's not, and it's not Tibetan Buddhism only.
No, of course not.
There's an influence of it, and
but in terms of having that be a parallel kind of set of structures, I want to have the foundation remain that, and call people to it who will help maintain it.
And I think I often feel like the sacred stream, both in physical reality at the Berkeley Center and online, and in essence, is like a little oasis. It's a little island, it's an island, it's a shore that you can, wash up on. and it's a beacon of consciousness. And I do think people, who resonate with it, find it. And, I was just talking with a student recently who said, I just walked past the door and the center, and I just felt this pull, and then I saw this poster, and then I felt the pull of the poster, and I just signed up for a class, and now I've taken everything. So, but it's a place where, we find each other, you find like-minded people, there's no ego, there's no power dynamics, it's really, and I think I want to say that's one of the things that I love about you, that I respect about you, is that there's no drive for, notoriety or, recognition, though you deserve it. I think that, your heart is always right there in the place of trying to be of help, trying to be of service, working to, move that pendulum more on the side of good, and we have been sitting in the midst of a lot of chaos in the world, war, degeneracy in leadership and of all kinds, and, desperation of all kinds. And we are both very dedicated to holding steady and
holding the raft steady. Hop on.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Now, it occurs to me when we were talking about like the work we did with the Compassion Tour, that I really, really want to mention another very influential teacher, psychic, influential person in our lives and in the lives of the Sacred Stream. And, as I mentioned, we work in conjunction with other projects to the best that we can. We are a very small, organization, but we do a lot. And these and I are constantly working, and we love what we do. And if you go to the donation page, you'll see a list of different programs, from watershed projects that we've done to computers for kids. We're getting computers to,
during the pandemic.
And now still too, that's needed, kids, particularly unaccompanied minors, and, kids who are here without parents, kids who are, in need of support and help. But the thing I'm thinking of is Geshe Pema Dorje, right? And Geshe Pema Dorje is a monk, a great teacher, a really wonderful person. And you can see him on the podcast just a couple of episodes back, and you'll learn all about him. He's amazing, but he's someone who does so much with so little. $1 given to him helps so many people. He's built orphanages. He's built medical centers. He's, he gets
clean stove projects,
gets resources to people in remote villages in Nepal and India, and parts of India. where there are no resources. And we're right now working with him on a project for women and girls to where they're getting, who've been in abusive situations or just in desperate situations. One of his big projects is getting street kids off the streets.
And what he's done is started a nunnery.
Yeah, well, it's not a nunnery, but
It is a nunnery.
But the nuns are running it, and these girls and women are given housing, education, clothing, food, and they get a start in life and they get protection. So we're contributing to that, and you can donate to that. You can learn more about Geshe Pema Dorji also through our website, and on the donate page, we connect to his website, Buddhist Charity. It's not Tibet, Buddhist Charity Charitable Aid.org. But check it out. So anyway, I've said a lot. We've said a lot. There's more to say. What's your favorite podcast episode, by the way?
I like the one with you and Bob when we were in the
Bob
car.
Thurman?
Bob Thurman. We were like in the car. Bob's like running from event to event, and we're going down to a conference.
We're taking him to Google.
Yeah.
For a Google talk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was the only time I had to interview him, so I just put my recording on, and we're driving at vast speeds.
Somehow there's no traffic sounds on it. I don't know how.
It has.
Yeah.
It has. That's a fun podcast.
Yeah, that's a fun podcast.
Episode, yeah.
But that's kind of like being with Bob. You're always kind of riding hard and fast. Hoping that the saddlebags are going to stay buckled. So great. Yeah, that was my favorite. But congratulations on your 100th episode.
Well, congratulations to you on the 100th episode, and also on our 20th anniversary of the Sacred Stream.
Yeah, congratulations to us all, because everyone has participated in helping create the Sacred Stream. And I know you've mentioned Cody and Sherry and Katie and all of our team, Clem, Wyatt. And we have new members of the team now, Bert and John, and we could not have gotten here without them. And we could not have gotten here without the support of everyone who's here listening and who supports consciousness in the world in their own terms, in their own way. So thank you.
Well, thank you all for listening. Again, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, send us an email, tell your friends, and we will see you again on the 101st. And join us June 17th, online or in person at the Sacred Stream Center for our 20th anniversary celebration. There will be music, live music, there will be talk, there will be party, there will be dancing. It's going to be fun. So we'll see you there. Thank you.